The sky had been clear that morning, the sun rising over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the earth. Everything seemed peaceful, the air crisp and fresh. The world was going about its usual business, when without warning a presence was felt in the skies, a ripple in the atmosphere that seemed to spread out from the edges of the planet, like an invisible hand brushing against the fabric of the world. Humans were unaware of the threat looming on the other side of the solar system. But in an instant, everything would change. The first signs came when satellites picked up unusual readings, massive energy surges in space. The data was sent to observatories across the world, and soon it became clear something was coming, something big. The scientists didn't know what they were looking at, but the patterns were unmistakable. Something was entering the solar system at a speed no human craft could match. Humanity had always looked to the stars with a sense of wonder, but now it felt like those stars were staring back, like they had always been watching. And now they were finally coming for Earth. The first alien vessel emerged from the depths of space. It was massive, a ship so large it could block out the sun if it hovered over a city. And then more followed after it, each one of them far beyond anything the human race had ever conceived of. The ships were sleek and dark, their forms like jagged silhouettes against the blackness of space. They appeared without warning, just as silently as they arrived, as if the very universe itself was holding its breath. The news was quick to spread, a cold chill creeping across the globe. The first signs of panic emerged as people looked up at the sky. With dread, the governments of the world scrambled into action. Emergency meetings took place in every major city. The UN convened in an attempt to coordinate a response. But no one had a plan. No one had ever prepared for this. The aliens didn't communicate at first. They didn't need to. Their presence alone was enough to send a message. Their ships lingered at the edge of the atmosphere, as if waiting for humanity to react. But there was no mistake in their silence. They were waiting for the world to make its first move. But what could Earth do against such overwhelming might? No country on Earth could boast a fleet capable of even scratching the surface of one of those ships. The military leaders had no choice but to watch as the ships took their position above the planet, their powerful weapons silently scanning everything below it. Was then that they made their move. A single message from the alien ships. The transmission came across every device on Earth, broadcasted across every television screen and radio. They demanded Earth's immediate surrender, or they would destroy everything in their path. The message was simple but terrifying in its clarity. The alien voice was cold, mechanical, devoid of emotion. But there was no mistaking its intent. Humanity had been given an ultimatum, one choice: to submit or face utter annihilation. The response came quickly, but it wasn't from the leaders of the world. It came from a woman, Lina Strauss, an unassuming scientist who had been quietly working on advanced defense technologies for years. She spoke out publicly to the world with a bold statement. The aliens had made one grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and she would prove it. As the alien fleet loomed overhead, Earth's leaders gathered in secret, a mix of fear, frustration, and determination hanging heavy in the room. The United Nations had quickly convened, and military experts were on standby, ready to advise. But in the face of the unknown, their plans were scattered and weak. The aliens' demands were clear: surrender or destruction. There was no middle ground, no negotiations. The invaders had calculated that humanity, fractured and disorganized, would be easy to crush. But they hadn't counted on one thing: the human spirit. Dr. Lina Strauss stood before the world's leaders, her calm voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. She had become a symbol of hope, the one person who refused to bow under the weight of impossible odds. She didn't come from a background of military leadership, nor was she a politician. She was a scientist, an expert in unconventional warfare, and her reputation for thinking outside the box had earned her a seat at this crucial moment in Earth's history. "I've studied their movements," Dr. Strauss said, projecting a hologram of the alien fleet's formation. "And there's one thing that's certain. They expect us to be predictable. They expect us to fall in line. What they don't understand is that humanity thrives on unpredictability. Our strength lies in our ability to adapt. We've never been afraid to think outside the box, to use what we have, even when we're outmatched." The room fell silent, the weight of her words settling in. Dr. Strauss continued, outlining her plan. An audacious strategy that would require every nation to work together, a truly unified front. The idea was simple in theory, but would take everything humanity had to pull off. The human race needed to throw everything they had at the aliens, not just conventional warfare, but guerrilla tactics, technological sabotage, and even cyber warfare. They would need to work as one, pooling resources from every corner of the world. "We don't need to defeat them outright," she explained. "We just need to disrupt them enough to break their confidence. Once their technology is compromised, they'll start second-guessing their superiority. We'll create confusion, and with that, we can make our move." The world's leaders exchanged uneasy glances. There was no guarantee this would work. Far from it. They were up against an alien force that had traveled across the stars, and humans had nothing remotely close to their technology. Yet desperation had a way of driving people to do the unthinkable. For the first time in history, Earth's countries set aside their differences. The United Nations called for global cooperation, and humanity's military and civilian forces prepared to join the fight in unprecedented ways. Dr. Strauss was put in charge of coordinating the effort. Alongside the world's top hackers, engineers, and military leaders, she began working on the plan's most critical element, creating a fleet of human vessels that could infiltrate the alien ships, disable their systems, and create the chaos that would make their larger coordinated strike possible. The world rallied together, united under one banner: survival. As the days passed, Earth's forces trained, modified weapons, and even reverse-engineered alien tech from the wreckage of the initial skirmishes. Each new breakthrough brought a spark of hope, a glimmer of possibility. The countdown to the first strike began, and with it, a deep understanding that the fate of humanity rested on the actions of every single person on Earth. No one could afford to sit this out, and no one would back down. Humanity might be small in the vastness of space, but it was relentless, capable of creativity and determination beyond measure. The plan was set into motion. The aliens might have underestimated humans, but Earth was ready to prove them wrong. The countdown had begun. This would be the turning point. The first strike was a calculated risk, and there was no turning back. Earth's military forces, under the command of a newly formed unified global coalition, had been working around the clock to prepare for this moment. Every asset, every soldier, every engineer, and every civilian who could contribute had been mobilized. It wasn't just a battle, it was humanity's last stand. The plan was deceptively simple: a series of smaller, fast-moving craft, built using reverse-engineered alien technology and repurposed civilian spacecraft, would infiltrate the heart of the alien fleet. Their mission was to cause as much confusion and disruption as possible. The alien ships were massive and imposing, but they had one crucial weakness. They were overly reliant on their advanced technology, believing that no species could outsmart their systems. And humans, ever inventive, had a knack for finding ways around the most sophisticated defenses. The strike began with a series of missile launches from Earth's space stations. The missiles were not traditional weapons. They were stealth technology platforms, designed to blend in with the void of space and approach the alien fleet undetected. At the same time, a small group of human ships, barely more than heavily modified cargo pods, began their assault. These ships, piloted by both military veterans and skilled civilians, fired sporadically, making it appear as though Earth's forces were far more numerous than they truly were. At first, the aliens were baffled. Their advanced sensors picked up the incoming missiles, but they couldn't track the small human ships that were darting around at unpredictable angles. The humans didn't move like a conventional army. They used every advantage, every ounce of ingenuity, to create chaos. Every missile strike was a decoy. Every fleet movement was a feint. The alien forces, used to clean, organized battles, found themselves unsure of how to respond. Their superior technology was no match for the erratic, unpredictable behavior of humans. Then came the real shock. Hackers and engineers, working together from secure command centers around the world, managed to breach the alien fleet's communication systems. It wasn't a full takeover. There was no way to control their ships. But the human team successfully planted a virus into the fleet's central network. The virus didn't just disable their communication. It scrambled their weapons targeting systems, making their advanced weapon systems turn against them. Aliens watched in disbelief as their own weapons fired randomly, causing confusion and misfires within their ranks. The sudden chaos allowed Earth's forces to strike where the aliens least expected. A few minutes later, the first explosion ripped through an alien cruiser. The blast wasn't massive, but it was enough to send ripples of confusion through the fleet. The humans had hit their first target. The alien forces scrambled to regain control, but it was too late. The seeds of doubt had been planted, and humanity, in its usual fashion, had taken advantage of the moment. As the attack continued, more alien vessels began to break formation, their commanders unable to properly coordinate. The human fighters darted in and out of the gaps, using every tool at their disposal. Satellites launched from Earth's defense grid fired disruptor beams at the alien ships, creating bursts of electromagnetic interference that blocked alien sensors for critical seconds at a time. For the first time, the aliens found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer unpredictability of their opponent. On Earth's surface, military commanders watched in amazement as their strategy unfolded in space. The world held its breath. They had no idea how long the humans could hold this advantage. But for now, they were winning. Humanity wasn't going down without a fight. Despite the aliens' technological superiority, the humans' relentless adaptability was proving to be a game changer. The first strike wasn't just a success, it was a statement. Humanity would not surrender, not without a fight. And for the aliens, this wasn't just a war. It was a lesson in underestimating Earth's greatest weapon, its people. The initial success of Earth's first strike sent shockwaves through the alien fleet, but the invaders were quick to regroup. Their response came without hesitation. Huge alien warships unleashed their full firepower, bombarding Earth's cities and military bases with devastating precision. The humans had thrown a punch, but the aliens were now intent on making them pay for it. The first few days of retaliation were brutal. Cities like New York, Tokyo, and Paris were hit hardest, their skylines shattered as alien weapons rained down from orbit. Major defense installations were obliterated in seconds, and military commanders on Earth watched helplessly as their best efforts were met with overwhelming force. The human fleet, still reeling from the shock of their earlier victories, found itself at a severe disadvantage. It seemed as if the tide had shifted, and humanity's initial gains were slipping away. Yet, the aliens underestimated one thing: humanity's refusal to break. In the wake of the devastating strikes, people across the world didn't crumble, they rallied. Engineers, scientists, and soldiers who had already been working around the clock suddenly found themselves more determined than ever. The rest of the world's population, even those who had previously doubted their survival, now stood together in defiance. Earth was not just fighting for survival, it was fighting for its future. Meanwhile, inside the walls of a hidden underground command center, Dr. Lina Strauss and her team worked tirelessly. The first strike had worked because it had taken the aliens by surprise, exploiting their assumption that humans would follow conventional warfare tactics. But this next phase of the battle would require more than just sabotage and surprise attacks. It would demand complete ingenuity. Dr. Strauss had a bold plan: reverse engineer the alien technology they had gathered so far and use it to their advantage. Alien weapons systems, she theorized, might be impenetrable to conventional human means of attack, but there was one thing the humans had that the aliens didn't: the ability to adapt and reprogram. With the right adjustments, humanity could turn their own technology against them. The first step was hacking into the alien command network again. It wasn't easy. The aliens had noticed the vulnerabilities the first time and had taken precautions, tightening their security. But Earth's hackers, led by a brilliant young coder named Aaron West, managed to find a backdoor into the alien systems. They planted a sophisticated malware program deep within the alien fleet's central hub. This wasn't just about causing confusion anymore. It was about gaining control. As Earth's forces prepared for the next round of strikes, the virus spread throughout the alien fleet, silently sabotaging their systems. Alien warships began to misfire, their advanced targeting systems malfunctioning at critical moments. For the first time since the invasion began, the alien fleet was starting to lose its grip. The humans had managed to infiltrate their communications once more, this time disabling their weaponry at the most opportune moments. With the enemy momentarily distracted, Earth's military forces launched their counteroffensive. Human ships, smaller but more nimble, darted into the gaps, taking advantage of the weakened alien defenses. Strategic missile strikes disabled several alien cruisers. The air was thick with the smell of ionized atmosphere, and the once immense alien ships seemed smaller now, less intimidating. The aliens had miscalculated. They thought their advanced technology would be enough to crush Earth's defenses, but humanity's adaptability and relentless resolve were proving to be their greatest strength. As Earth's forces pushed back, a single unspoken message spread across the globe. Humanity would not be broken. No matter how powerful the invaders, no matter how overwhelming the odds, the fight was far from over. The aliens, now realizing their initial confidence had been misplaced, scrambled to regain control. But it was too late. The cracks had begun to form, and every strike against their fleet, every new malfunction, reminded them of a single truth they had failed to see before. Humans were not a species to be easily conquered. They had only just begun to fight. The battle raged on, and every day seemed to bring new surprises for both sides. Earth's military, although still outgunned, had found its footing, adapting faster than the aliens had expected. The aliens were beginning to show signs of frustration. Their once dominant fleet was no longer as invincible as it had seemed. The strikes they launched against Earth were met with more resistance, and even their advanced weaponry seemed to falter against humanity's unpredictable tactics. In the heart of Earth's operations, Dr. Lina Strauss and her team worked tirelessly to refine their approach. The reverse-engineered alien technology, while impressive, had revealed an even deeper vulnerability in the enemy systems. After weeks of analysis, Dr. Strauss had discovered something that could change the course of the war: the aliens' reliance on a single, massive flagship that served as the fleet's command center. This ship, more advanced than any other in the alien arsenal, controlled the fleet's operations and served as the focal point of their war effort. If they could disable this ship, the entire alien fleet would be thrown into chaos. Dr. Strauss knew that attacking the flagship directly would be near suicide. The ship was heavily protected, surrounded by layers of defense systems and thousands of alien warriors. A full-scale assault would be a mistake. Instead, they would need to infiltrate it, sabotage its critical systems, and leave the invaders reeling. This would require a small elite team, capable of carrying out a daring operation in the heart of enemy territory. The team was assembled quickly. A mix of military veterans, elite hackers, and engineers who had been working on the alien technology formed the core of the operation. Leading the charge was Captain Jace Matthews, a decorated officer with years of combat experience, who would lead the human team aboard a specially modified stealth ship that could penetrate the flagship's defenses undetected. Dr. Strauss would accompany them, coordinating from the ship's control center, offering guidance and directing their efforts. The plan was set into motion. Under the cover of a diversionary strike by Earth's remaining fleet, the stealth ship slipped past the alien warships, its engines humming quietly as it approached the flagship. Time was critical. Every minute spent on the mission increased the risk of detection, but if they succeeded, it would be worth the cost. Inside the flagship, the team faced an entirely new kind of warfare. The aliens had advanced security measures in place, and the corridors were lined with hostile patrols. Every step was dangerous. The humans relied on their training, stealth, and resourcefulness. They hacked into the flagship's internal systems to create diversions, temporarily disabling security doors and cutting off patrol routes. The team made their way deeper into the bowels of the ship, working their way toward the central control core, the heart of the flagship's operations. At the same time, Earth's forces outside the flagship launched a series of calculated strikes, focusing on the alien fleet's external defenses. It wasn't an all-out assault. It was a carefully orchestrated attack designed to keep the aliens off balance and prevent them from focusing on the intruders inside the flagship. The humans outside knew the stakes were high. This was the moment they had been waiting for, and everything hinged on the success of the infiltration. In the heart of the flagship, the team reached the control center. They planted the virus, an advanced piece of software that would cripple the flagship's central systems and disable its ability to communicate with the rest of the fleet. With the virus successfully installed, the team began their retreat, knowing they had to leave the ship before the aliens could respond. But just as they made their way back to the stealth ship, the alien alarms blared. The flagship had detected their intrusion, and the countdown to total lockdown had begun. The humans fought their way out, the final minutes of the mission a blur of gunfire and close calls. But just as the team reached their ship and blasted off into the void of space, the flagship's systems went dark. The aliens lost all communication with their fleet, and their ships began to drift aimlessly, their once coordinated attacks devolving into chaos. The tide had turned. The flagship, the nerve center of the alien invasion, had been taken down from the inside. Back on Earth, the world watched in disbelief as the alien fleet faltered. The victory was far from complete, but it was a major blow. The aliens had been outwitted and outpaced, and humanity had proven once again that when faced with impossible odds, it could adapt, survive, and strike back. The heart of the alien fleet had been crippled, but the victory was only partial. The flagship, once the source of the aliens' power, was now a shadow of its former self. Its control systems were in disarray, leaving the alien forces scrambling to salvage what remained of their mission. However, this momentary chaos wasn't enough to turn the tide completely. The alien fleet was vast, and many of its ships still posed a formidable threat. But humanity was relentless. The virus planted in the flagship had not only severed communication with the rest of the fleet, it had infected the entire alien network, sending ripples of disruption across the invaders' technology. The warships, once finely tuned machines, began to falter. Their weapon systems were misfiring, their navigation compromised. For the first time, the humans saw a glimmer of hope, a chance to strike back. Dr. Lena Strauss, along with the elite human team that had infiltrated the flagship, watched from their command center as the alien fleet began to fall into disarray. They knew the window for action was closing quickly. If they didn't act fast, the aliens would regroup and adapt, reinforcing their systems and countering the human advantage. Earth's remaining forces, now emboldened by the success of the infiltration, launched their most daring strike yet. Outside, the human fleet engaged the aliens with renewed vigor. The modified human ships, smaller and more agile than the alien warships, darted through the void, picking off stragglers and exploiting the weaknesses the virus had created. Earth's forces had studied the alien ships for weeks, learning their patterns, weaknesses, and blind spots. Now, they used that knowledge to devastating effect. Coordinated strikes crippled alien ships from within, targeting their engines, weapon systems, and power cores. The momentum shifted. What had been a one-sided battle was now becoming a deadly standoff. On the flagship itself, the human team was not yet out of danger. The aliens were now aware of the sabotage, and their remaining forces had begun to retaliate. The corridors that had once been silent now echoed with the sound of alien soldiers scrambling to neutralize the intruders. The humans fought tooth and nail to escape, using every last ounce of their training and ingenuity to make it back to their ship. Captain Jace Matthews led the charge, his combat instincts guiding the team through the chaos. They were close, so close, but the aliens had begun to recover their composure. If they didn't move quickly, they'd be trapped inside the very ship they'd just crippled. The team made it to the hangar bay, their path blocked only once by a last-minute ambush. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, the humans fought their way through, relying on precision strikes and sheer grit. It was a race against time. The alien soldiers, though powerful and advanced, had not accounted for the humans' will to survive. The team pushed forward, securing their stealth ship, ready to make the final jump out of the flagship before the remaining alien defenses could lock them in. As the ship powered up and began to ascend toward the fleet, a final explosion rocked the flagship. The virus had fully taken hold, and the command center imploded, triggering a chain reaction that disabled the flagship beyond repair. The remaining alien warships, disconnected from their command structure, began to drift aimlessly, some even colliding with each other in their confusion. Back on Earth, the world held its breath as the human team's escape was confirmed. The flagship had fallen, and with it, the heart of the alien invasion. But the battle was far from over. Earth's forces, bolstered by their unexpected success, pressed on, launching final strikes against the remaining alien vessels. The tide had turned, but there was still much work to be done. Humanity had won a decisive victory, but the price had been high. Thousands of lives had been lost in the battle, and many more would still be at risk. The aliens were not defeated yet, and the war was far from finished. But one thing was certain. Humanity had proven it would not back down, no matter the cost. The success of the infiltration and the crippling of the flagship had thrown the alien forces into disarray. But the war was far from over. While the chaos within their fleet continued, the invaders were regrouping, and their commanders were already working to adapt to the unexpected disruption. The alien race, though staggered, was not one to yield easily. They had superior technology, vast numbers, and, most importantly, a deep, calculating intelligence that humans were just beginning to understand. Back on Earth, the victory was celebrated, but only briefly. Dr. Lena Strauss and the global leadership knew that this was merely a reprieve, not an end. Earth's forces had gained an advantage, but the aliens were far from defeated. The human resistance had struck a blow, but the next steps would determine if the species could truly survive this invasion. Dr. Strauss and her team were now focused on a critical mission, preventing the aliens from re-establishing control over their fleet. Earth's intelligence had discovered something alarming. While the flagship had been severed from the rest of the alien forces, the invaders were secretly building a new command vessel, one capable of taking over where the flagship had left off. This new vessel, larger and more heavily armored, was already in the final stages of construction on the edge of the solar system. If the humans didn't act quickly, the aliens could once again reorganize and retaliate with renewed force. The world's remaining space fleets, battered but not broken, were tasked with stopping the construction of this new command ship. The plan was to strike before the vessel could fully power up and deploy, hitting it with everything Earth had to prevent the aliens from re-establishing their centralized command structure. Time was running out. Captain Jace Matthews, who had led the team inside the flagship, was now overseeing the defense of Earth's outermost colonies, ensuring the alien forces didn't gain any further ground. Meanwhile, Earth's elite forces prepared for a joint mission, a final desperate assault on the alien construction facility. If they could destroy this new command ship before it could launch, they could deal a blow so devastating that the alien fleet would collapse entirely. The mission was dangerous, even by the standards of humanity's last stand. Earth's fleet would have to navigate through heavily fortified alien space, dodging their remaining forces, and making their way to the heart of the construction site. The humans had no illusions about the odds. The alien race had learned from its previous mistakes and fortified its defenses. This was no longer about subtlety. It was about delivering a decisive blow. And like every battle before, it would require sacrifices. Dr. Strauss, now working closely with Earth's top military strategists, had coordinated an innovative approach to the attack. Human ships, once seen as weak and outdated in the face of the alien fleet, had been modified once again using salvaged alien technology. Their new weapons systems, designed to disrupt the alien ship's communication and navigation, were Earth's best hope for breaking through the aliens' formidable defenses. The assault began with a coordinated strike. A small fleet, led by Captain Matthews, moved through a hidden asteroid belt, using the rocks as cover to avoid detection. A distraction force, led by Earth's modified stealth ships, engaged the remaining alien warships in deep space, drawing them away from the construction site. The goal was to force the aliens into a defensive posture, buying time for the main fleet to launch its attack. As the assault unfolded, the tension reached a breaking point. The alien forces, caught off guard by the unexpected human offensive, began to panic. But they were learning fast, and soon the human fleet would find itself facing an even greater wave of alien reinforcements. The final battle had begun. Earth's forces, once considered insignificant in the vastness of space, were now proving to the invaders that they had underestimated humanity's resolve. No matter the cost, the fight was not over, and Earth would push forward, ready to face whatever came next. The final assault was underway, and Earth's forces moved with an intensity born from the realization that this was humanity's last chance to turn the tide. The alien reinforcements were on the horizon, and the new command ship, still under construction, was nearing completion. This final push would either break the invaders once and for all or doom Earth to subjugation. As the human fleet crept through the asteroid belt, Captain Jace Matthews and his crew kept their eyes on the prize. The alien construction facility where the new command ship was being built. It was heavily fortified, surrounded by a dozen warships and countless smaller defense drones. The aliens had anticipated an attack, but they hadn't expected the human forces to adapt so quickly, nor had they anticipated the level of determination Earth's forces had shown. The tide of battle was no longer in the aliens' favor. "Stealth mode engage," Matthews said, his voice calm despite the mounting pressure. The ship's advanced cloaking technology, powered by reverse-engineered alien tech, would allow them to slip through undetected, if they were lucky. "Stay sharp. Once we're in range, we'll have only minutes to plant the payload." Dr. Lena Strauss, back at Earth's command center, watched the battle unfold on her screens, the weight of their success and failure pressing down on her. She knew that, even if they destroyed the construction site, Earth's war wasn't won yet. The aliens still had immense resources and vast fleets scattered across the galaxy. But if they could sever the head of the alien operation, destroy the new command ship, the aliens' ability to coordinate and organize would crumble. The remaining ships would be nothing more than disjointed pieces, vulnerable and leaderless. The human fleet advanced, weaving between asteroids and debris, narrowly avoiding detection as they approached the construction site. Earth's stealth ships, leading the charge, slipped past alien patrols with remarkable precision, thanks to the alien tech they'd adapted to. Then, in the blink of an eye, the enemy was no longer in their path. "All ships, full speed ahead," Matthews ordered. "Prepare to engage the moment we breach the facility's defenses." The first salvo from the human fleet broke the silence, an array of missiles designed to disable, not destroy. They hit the outer defenses of the construction facility with surgical precision, disabling turrets, drones, and automated shields. The alien forces immediately reacted, scrambling to respond. But it was too late. The stealth ships, now free from interference, broke through the facility's defenses and moved toward the command ship. As the human forces launched their main attack, Earth's elite infiltration team, led by Captain Matthews, docked within the heart of the construction site. The team, wearing armor adapted to survive in the alien environment, moved quickly through the facility, planting explosives and hacking into systems that could delay any alien counterattacks. Inside the construction facility, the team faced fierce resistance. Alien drones, now aware of the human assault, poured into the corridors, but humanity's forces were prepared. With every obstacle they overcame, they came closer to the new command ship, which loomed like a monstrous shadow in the distance. The weight of the moment was palpable. This was their final chance. Their mission was to place the final charge and disrupt the ship's central reactor, triggering a chain reaction that would destroy it. Back at Earth's command center, Dr. Strauss monitored the attack in real time. The humans had penetrated deep into the facility, but the alien defense systems were regaining their strength. Time was running out. Now or never, Captain Matthews muttered as he planted the final charge inside the command ship's core. The countdown began. The team made a hasty retreat, dodging blasts from alien weapons as they fled toward their ship. They barely escaped as the facility began to shake with the force of the explosion. Behind them, the new command ship collapsed into a fiery, glowing ruin. The ripple effects of the explosion were instantaneous. Alien warships surrounding the construction site lost all coordination and communication. Their commanders suddenly cut off from their fleet. The entire invasion effort, the sophisticated, complex machinery the aliens had relied on, was now in disarray. Earth's forces took advantage of the chaos, launching their final offensive, striking alien ships from every angle. In the distance, the once imposing fleet was now a fragmented collection of vessels, unable to regroup or launch coordinated attacks. It was over. The aliens had been defeated. On Earth, humanity erupted in celebration. Against all odds, they had driven back an invasion from the stars. The victory was hard-earned, the cost high, but the message had been clear. Earth was not to be underestimated. The aliens had come to conquer, but they had learned a brutal truth. The resilience of humanity could never be broken. For now, Earth was safe, but Dr. Strauss, watching the aftermath unfold on her screen, knew that this was just the beginning of a new era, one in which humanity had proven it could stand toe-to-toe with the universe's most powerful invaders.